Mike, alcoholic.
Hey, Mike.
You know, a lot of what was said, I absolutely agree with. The path does narrow as I am here for a little while. It starts out real broad, and then it does narrow. A lot of the things that were okay when I got here become not okay. Another book talks about narrow is the path that leads to goodness, and there you will find few. I believe that's true. My tenure here, which is bordering on substantial, few and few people stick around, and fewer people I'm willing to surround myself and let inside my life, like know my address. You know what I'm talking about, especially these days. So yeah, the path does narrow, and tough decisions do need to be made. But I can't get to those decisions till I make that first big decision that I am one of these people. And I think that's what the topic was about. You know, it talks about what was the guy thinking, but before that it talks about the guy who does crazy, insane things while drinking. He can't control the amount I took. And I had to answer yes to both of those questions. I sang the Alcoholics National Anthem. I'll never do it again, and I meant it. I quit for good, and it wasn't long before I drank again. Whatever drama came up in my life, I drank again. And when I drink solid or liquid alcohol, once I use, I can't control the amount I take. And I think I'm not alone in that. But as a matter of fact, that part that it talked about in the topic about going out and doing some controlled drinking, there was one of the first ladies, actually the first lady in AA, her name was Marty Mann, and she came up with something called the Marty Mann test. And the Marty Mann test was you go get a case of beer and drink 2 beers a day for 12 days. If you can do that, you're not an alcoholic. That makes complete sense to me. That's what it's called. That's who the lady is. When I put that in perspective, I can't imagine that, pulling that off. I know I wouldn't be able to pull that off. But that's the test she came up with. But you know, that physical craving that happens to me when I drink or do solid alcohol is not the crux of my problem. In our book, it talks about the mental state preceding the first one being the crux of my problem. I think that's on 35. Larry might help me with that. It talks about the crux of my problem being the mental state preceding the first drink. It talks about how, I think it's 21 or 22, where it's talking about the real alcoholic. These observations of this crazy shit I do while drinking would be academic and pointless if I never took the first one. So you put enough alcohol in anything, it's going to do crazy, insane things. But the real insanity of this disease is, why did I start back after I quit? And I think the last sentence of the topic that he did is, of what is he thinking? That was the last sentence, the last words that was in the topic. Of what is he thinking? And I found out what I was thinking in this book, why I kept starting back. And I tell you, I always do this when I speak at a treatment center, but this is absolutely the reason I kept going back. And it surely wasn't the taste. I like the taste of Cool Mountain spring water too, but I don't drink a case of the shit. Okay? So, what is it that I'm thinking? And why do I start back after I've stopped? And how do I go insane? It's right here. It's hidden in something that we read in every meeting, and it was the damnedest thing. And I'll just read it this way, and I bet you this might be why somebody else in here started back too. When I took a drink of alcohol, I knew a new freedom and a new happiness. When I got loaded, I didn't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. When I got high, I comprehended the word serenity and I knew peace. When I got drunk, no matter how far down the scale I had gone, I could see how my experience could benefit others. When I took a drink of alcohol, my whole attitude and outlook upon life changed. Fear of people and of economic insecurity left me. I suddenly realized that alcohol in solid and liquid form was doing for me what I could not do for myself. And that is exactly why I kept going back. Because in the deepest recesses of something that I couldn't even articulate, alcohol in solid or liquid form did something for me. I couldn't even articulate those things that it did for me. But when I read it, I knew that that was it. Because if I was fearful, it helped. If I was down in the dumps, it gave me a new outlook. If I was feeling like a piece of shit, I felt like somebody. It's no wonder I kept going back. Because that shit worked every time. Now, the results were not as long-lasting toward the end of my drinking. We talked about that in the Vision for You. Not so in those last days, right? But in those first days, it became hardwired in my mind that that's what this shit did for me. And that's why I kept going back, because in the deep recesses of my mind, without these steps in this program in my life, my mind went back to default, like a computer. Reset, and it went to the reboot process, just like a computer. But with these steps, the good news is that with this programming, God has rewired my mind. My mind don't go straight to that shit no more. My first thought is not always wrong no more. God has given me that pause between impulse and action. When that thought comes that said, that'd be all right, He gives me that pause between impulse and action with the ability to think sufficiently and effectively about that decision I'm thinking about making, and all of a sudden it starts sounding stupid as hell. I don't want to do that. Of what was I thinking? I was insane for a millisecond, a fleeting thought, and God restored my sanity in that instant. Isn't that what the guy at the end of Diagnostics said? He couldn't drink even if he would. God restored his sanity. Thus has God restored us all to our right minds. Now, I don't want to be so bold. I know there's some people in here that don't embrace that concept, nor are they been restored. But my job as somebody who's been around here, speaking to a newcomer that is still wondering, why do I keep doing this shit? I'm telling you the good news. That I don't get obsessed about drinking and using anymore. A fleeting thought, maybe, hadn't happened in a while, hadn't sounded like a great idea in a long while. But these steps have given me enough of those promises so I don't have to look to it to alcohol in solid liquid form. I'm not claiming to have every one of those promises every day. I think anybody that would claim that's a liar, because life shows up. We know that. Problems are not gone just in a poof just because I come in this room. We know that. But enough of these promises come true in my life that makes me not have to go back to alcohol to try to get them. Because my disease, like I said, wants me to remember what alcohol did for me, not what it did to me. So I wanted to throw that out there. That's why I kept going back. And this steps is why I don't go back anymore. And I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps in our past.
Thank you.